Hi there, I'm Jessie. I'm a master's level intern at Pikes Peak Community College Counseling Center. And I wanted to talk with you today about stress and anxiety through the pandemic. This is a very different time than our normal stress and anxiety, if we want to look at it that way. I think what's really important to recognize is that whatever tools, cognitive, emotional tools we came into the pandemic with, that's how we're dealing with it. And likely those tools, for better or for worse, have been turned up a notch. And so it makes sense that so many of us are experiencing this pandemic in a really intense way. There are so many changes in our world, in your world, that you have to put into perspective, that you have to adapt and adjust for. And it's those underlying skills that we came into it with that help determine how we will go through it. And that is a big part of what we do at the Counseling Center. So at the Counseling Center, we work through a theory of cognitive behavioral therapy. What that theory is about how we believe change happens, right? So in cognitive behavioral therapy, your thoughts lead you to an emotion, which then leads you to a behavior. So if your beliefs, those thoughts that you have about yourself, others, and the world are significantly challenged, like they are right now with the pandemic, that's going to stir them, it's going to challenge them, and we're going to feel the emotions of them that much more. And our behavior is going to be reflected that much more. So what are some really basic cognitive distortions? That's what we call them in cognitive behavioral therapy, are cognitive distortions, ways that we look at things that heighten our chances of them being stressful or anxiety producing. So I think one of the really big ones for the pandemic is what we call catastrophizing. What that means, it's kind of like that snowball effect where we start with one thing and that leads us to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And suddenly that snowball has gotten so big, we're running from it, right? We do that usually with some underlying belief about ourselves or others or the world, how things are perhaps unsafe. Maybe you were raised in an environment that wasn't stable. Maybe you've had experiences in your life that have taught you that there's less gray in a situation, right? It's very black and white, that all or nothing thinking. That's another one of the distortions, right? So when we look at the world that way, it seems realistic. It seems really possible that one thing's gonna inevitably lead to the next thing, which is gonna lead to the next thing, and then this could happen, and suddenly our anxiety is through the roof, right? That all or nothing thinking, right? So-and-so got it, I'm gonna get it. This happened to such and such's family, it's gonna happen to mine. I never got it, it doesn't exist. That's very black and white, right? In life, there is always gray. One of the greatest tools that I teach my clients is to look for the gray. Because it's when we think about life from the gray that we have to take that step back, right? All or nothing thinking is very powerful, it's very ingrained. It's when we hear ourselves saying, well, it should be this way. It must be like this, right? There's only one right or wrong, good or bad. It's when we hard label things that we have that all or nothing perspective, that very black and white. And that keeps us from taking that step back, right? Getting that wider perspective that is the gray. And that's where likely there's more solutions for us, where it's less of that ingrained thinking that comes from our past, from our life experiences that tell us it's this or this. Well, I've been through this before and this is how it always is. Always, right? Always, must, should, have to. Those are very all or nothing thinking patterns. So when you are considering your anxiety through this pandemic, I want you to think about that. How am I looking at this? Am I able to find the gray, right? Am I considering the shoulds, the musts, the have to, the always? Am I giving myself space to step back? Am I taking this possibility and making it a giant snowball? Or can I look at that possibility and say, that's in the future, and that doesn't exist yet. And if it does, then I will deal with it. Then I will address it. And it's not about being ignorant to what's around us, right? It's about being honest with yourself about what's fact and what's emotion. It's about separating that objective, subjective, right? So that you can find that gray. And I think that is one of the greatest tools that you can use during this pandemic to help ease some of that stress and anxiety. Thank you so much for being with me today.